Hi everyone, I'm Ben, and this is the Board Game Blueprint. This week, we're going to be taking a quick look at the recent SPIEL 2019 in Essen. It's a giant trade show, essentially the Gen Con of the world, and I'll show you a little bit about what kind of you can expect that goes on there. So let's jump on over to their tables a little bit more than just next door and see what they have in store. Where to begin? Well, I should apologize for my raspy voice. Sadly, I contracted a cold. I caught a cold on the way back from Germany, but that shouldn't detract from the awesome time that I had over there for SPIEL. Essentially, it is a gigantic Gen Con. And unfortunately, I haven't done a video for that either, but that is coming up soon for 2020. Oh yeah, lots of footage to wrap up into there. But there are multiple trade halls filled with vendors who are selling their wares, and honestly, the best part for me about Essen compared to Gen Con is how much space there is. Gen Con, there is quite a bit of real estate and room to move around, but it is pretty packed, and I felt like in my time there, people were always trying to pass through each other without any real space to just wander around. However, at Essen, that was quite the opposite. And because the entire show was so spread out, that allowed for a lot more elbow room when trying to get from one place to another. That doesn't mean, though, that tables weren't pretty much always filled up. And I really liked that, especially as someone working a booth, the flow of people was constant. Now, we've passed the booth that I was at for Elf Creek Games, who just launched the second printing of Atlantis Rising, but there are tons of other publishers of all different sizes as well. Just like at Gen Con, you can probably expect some bigger names like Stronghold Games and Plan B, but as you could probably imagine, as an international show, there are tons of other vendors who can't necessarily make it to the US or Indianapolis. Some of my favorite ones were the Taiwan game designers, I think is the name of the group, of which I played a game with the designer and eventually bought, though I told myself I wouldn't really get anything. An Indonesian group for design, and just tons of other local European vendors as well. For some reason, I was told that the attendees wouldn't necessarily be speaking English, and though it was true for some, the vast majority of them had awesome English with beautiful accents that had me head over heels with talking with them. What's more, I felt like so many of the people were super friendly too. And despite the maybe stigma of nerdy or awkward people playing games in the US, abroad it seems like just about everyone is interested, and that was super refreshing. It felt like I was home without being home. As we cruise the floor, again you can see all sorts of wares and booth setups, some more elaborate than others, as you can probably, again, imagine those larger name companies and publishers with some really expansive and cool things to show to draw as many people in. I believe halls 2 and 3 of the 6 different halls were the ones with the most giant setups, and the on the rise companies were in maybe 4, 5, and 6. Truly, the range of games and companies makes Gen Con look small. There are some that specialize in family games, and I can't emphasize enough how many children there were at the show. From what I heard, over 200,000 people walked in throughout the weekend, which quadruples the 50,000 that we sometimes see at Gen Con. The other really cool thing is intermingled between all the different publisher booths were maybe food stations and the expected accessory booths and whatnot for laser cutting inserts, dice, and the like. But speaking of food, another really cool thing was in the Galleria, not food trucks or regular stands that you might imagine, but actual kiosks, I think, that were set up just for it. This is where I had my first donau, authentic crepe, and delicious bratwurst. The people here were there all weekend, and as you could probably imagine, and I hope they got all the money that they deserve for sticking it out those 4 days. Another thing that I heard about Essen that seemed to ring true is that people are super willing to shell out money. For a lot of folks, SPIEL is the Christmas season gift-getting show, and one contributing factor to that is the international shipping that comes with maybe backing a Kickstarter or ordering from the US, domestic, or not domestic for them. With those international shipping fees and VATs, or value-added taxes, someone might easily pay nearly double for a game than if they waited until Essen to pick it up. And that's what we had a few Kickstarter backers for the Atlantis Rising Kickstarter game do. I got a little sidetracked and forgot to mention that there were a couple fun little activities to also do in that Galleria, including the bungee jumped trampoline and a few block stations for people to build large structures and the like. But as far as my personal experience goes, I got to get closer with my friends working that booth and hopefully making a bunch of new ones, so that if/when I come back next year, I'll have a couple more familiar faces to say hello to. It was great running into some more people that I've gotten to know from the US, and then some international friends too. In fact, another Facebook group that I'm part of, the Board Game Design Lab community, had a little meetup, and we had almost 15 or 20 people show up, congregating for the first time and just bonding and, again, getting to put a face to the name. Or I should say a voice to the name. Where our group stayed was a little bit outside the city, and that just meant a little bit of additional driving back and forth each day. But I feel that the parking was generally pretty lenient. We probably got in a little bit earlier as an exhibitor, as you can imagine, just like at any other convention. But the parking wasn't too far away, and the nights were pretty tolerable in terms of the weather. I made so many awesome memories this past weekend, and I honestly can't look forward to making more. Hopefully someday you can make it out to Essen too, and if I can't catch you here in the US, I'll definitely see you there. As you can probably tell, I enjoyed the heck out of Spiel, and I can't wait to hopefully go back again next year. In fact, I'm trying to pick up a little bit of German at the time of this recording. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on future content like this. As always, I'm Ben. This has been another episode of the Board Game Blueprint, and together, let's build something great.